What's up guys, this is Justin Davis with IGN, and this is Angry Birds Space, Rovio's latest Angry Birds sequel. There's a lot to talk about in this game, so let's jump right in. Angry Birds Space is really the biggest launch that Rovio's had since the original Angry Birds. If you think about Angry Birds Season or Angry Birds Rio as expansion packs of the original, Space is really the first one that's a full-fledged sequel that's bringing lots of new ideas to the table. So there's two big new ideas that Angry Birds Space plays around with, and the first is gravity. Instead of firing your birds in a straight line, instead the birds will be pulled towards sort of objects that are floating in space. So you can see here that this planet that the pigs are on is really pulling my bird's trajectory towards it in a new way. And so that gives you a lot of new things to play around with, and you know, your birds sometimes react unexpectedly, and you really sort of have to plan out where you're gonna fire them in a lot more detail than you ever did in the original Angry Birds. And once you get sort of closer to the end of the game and the later stages, things get even crazier. So this is a stage that has two different planets, and you really need to slingshot the bird around the first one and then get captured by the gravity of the second one in order to beat this stage. It gets really tricky. I mean, I think if a lot of people thought of Angry Birds as sort of a casual game or a game for maybe non-gamers, oh, look at him, he's caught in orbit now. Let's give that another shot. Yeah, so if you thought about Angry Birds as something that was maybe more casual or just kind of a time waster, Angry Birds Space might surprise you. You really kind of need to think about what you're doing. It's a lot more complex than the other ones where, you know, you have to think about how you're going to slingshot birds around these different planets in order to place them where you need to. And I'm definitely having a lot of fun with it. I think it's more challenged, quite a bit more challenging than the original was. So there's a couple other brand new things that I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to see. The first are the new zero gravity environments. So you can see in this stage there is no sort of planet to pull your birds toward. Instead, it's just zero G. So let me blow up one of these TNT crates here. You can see the debris just sort of flies around at random and bounces around through the stage. And when you manage to pop the bubble that one of these pigs are in, they freeze there. They're stuck in sort of the cold space environment and can't survive anymore. And it's definitely a lot of fun. It doesn't feel like the other Angry Birds games, but I think that's a good thing. They were probably getting a little bit old, and this sort of makes the bird flinging feel fresh again. So we're definitely going to have a full review on IGN soon, but my first impression is that I'm enjoying this quite a bit. Last big thing I want to show off is that the boss fights from Angry Birds Rio are back. So here we can see that we have sort of the king pig, and he's in this lunar lander taunting us. Best way to beat this guy is not to fling your pig directly at him. Instead, this debris he's shooting up in the air, these vegetables and rocks, if you pop them, they'll then land on his lunar lander and slowly damage it over time. And if you hit it enough times, you know, then you'll beat the boss and get to move on. And so again, you can see that this is sort of a low gravity environment, and it's a lot of fun. It feels good. You know, it feels very, very different than the other Angry Birds games did. And so far, my first impression is that I'm enjoying it quite a bit. We're going to have much more on Angry Birds Space very soon, including a full review, but we didn't want to waste any time sort of giving you a first look at this title and what Rovio has done new and different. Angry Birds Space is available now on the App Store for 99 cents on the iPhone and $2.99 on the iPad. For more on Angry Birds and all the hot mobile games, keep it locked to IGN.com.